Let's talk about Trump's legacy and the future for the Democrats, because we are now in the Biden era, 46th President of the United States, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens under the Biden administration. Of course, he's a moderate, and Donald Trump has just left office, and yet you've got the 4 years of the Trump administration right behind Joe Biden, and he'll have to deal with that. And it's going to be very interesting because Donald Trump wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. Sorry, that's just my cat talking. But I think, and it's now become clear that a lot of Trump's work is going to be left in place because Biden isn't going to want to lose the opportunities and the space that have been created by Donald Trump. And it's very interesting. It's so overt that the nominee for Secretary of State that Joe Biden is putting forward has already explained to the US Senate that whilst they disagreed with some of the stylistic things that Donald Trump did with China, largely they agree with his approach. Now that's quite shocking. That's very shocking when you think of, say, the media coverage of Trump, CNN's coverage of Trump, and what they've said about him and how the Democrats and the Washington establishment and how America completely rejects Donald Trump. Donald Trump was still president, and yet Biden's nominee for Secretary of State is saying to the US Senate that largely the Biden administration agrees with Donald Trump's approach. Not with how he did it, or the way he went about it, but the overall backing to it. And that's very significant. So I suspect, and this will either be ignored by the left or it'll be bemoaned by the left. The fact of the matter is that a lot of Trump's work will stay in place, and there will not be an en masse removal of his work and his legacy. So what about the Democrats? What about their future? I mean, it's great, isn't it? You know, you've got a Democrat in the White House, and you've got a Democratic Senate and a Democratic House. That's really not an accurate picture. Because firstly, as I've just said, Trump's legacy will probably be left in place to a large degree and not removed, number one. Number two, the Senate is 50-50, and there's too many red state Democrats to knock back some of the idiotic ideas that the left and the far left have about what the Senate should pass. And then in the House, Nancy Pelosi was just re-elected by one vote, if memory serves, to become Speaker again. And she lost 20-odd seats in the election. So the future of the Democrats doesn't look great. And remember, in the last 70 years, you've had a Democratic White House for 30 of those years, and a Republican White House for 40 of those years. So it's not that surprising that the Democrats have problems. They're losing out to the Republicans in terms of White House numbers over the last 70 years. And in many ways, the other problem is Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, and so was Donald Trump in the beginning, and the Republicans peeled those two guys off to become president for the Republicans in America in the White House. So yeah, it's not a great look for the Democrats. They've got and only the Democrats really could end up with the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives, and for it to really feel like not winning And unfortunately, that's the situation that Democrats are in.